I'm Tom.
And we are VIMTV, Velocities of Music. Today, we're going to do a second request. We did 2 written requests this time because we had 2 awesome written requests. This one was done by a viewer named Ham, or Ham, I guess it could be pronounced. The album is Typhoon, Hunger and Thirst, which is an indie band. We think they're relatively new. Not a lot of information out there on this band. So we don't really have a lot of background or backstory to what this album is, other than the album itself, which, to be honest with you, is almost better for us because we like to just look at the music itself on the album, and that's really our bread and butter. We don't care about all the other jazz going on out there. It's just the album that matters, so who cares? This album is an indie singer-songwriter almost, but a lot of instrumentals here. But this is the definition of an album. This thing is arranged in a way. There's a track called Intermission. That's an intermission. You know, dividing the album in 2 parts.
The songs really flow.
They flow. I mean, the whole point of this thing is for the songs to work together as an album. And that's something that, you know, me and Tom, but specifically me, that I'm really looking for in an album. You know, the compilation method can work, has worked. Some of the best albums out there are in that compilation method where it's just 12 singles on an album. Because if all your tracks on an album are good, it's inherently a good album. Something we've discovered here at Velocities of Music. But you can also make a good album by having short tracks, long tracks, tracks of different varieties and instrumental directions, I guess. Tom, what were your thoughts on Hunger and Thirst? What were your main takeaways from it?
Well, to start out with, one thing I right away noticed about that sound is despite I'm pretty damn sure they are American, right?
Yeah.
Yet the vocalist has this very kind of British, Scottish, Irish kind of sound to him. Similar, I would say, even like Frightened Rabbit, Snow Patrol, some things like that. But it definitely brings this this kind of moody energy to it, where there's this kind of melancholy yet confident sound. I don't know how better to describe it than that. But like you said, very indie. I really like that in the production and the performance, you can tell some things were performed very far away from the microphones. The spatial aspects of this album is great because not only do you have the stereo panning, but you feel like there's a level of depth. I don't mean depth as in how profound the lyrics are, which actually they are, but I mean depth just literally in how far and close things are to you as the listener.
Right. And to go along with that, one thing I want to note about this album, it's all real instrumentals. Yeah. You know, you have your drums, and then your guitar, acoustic and electric, but you also have horns and piano, and it's all real. And so the recording quality and style of how you were talking about, it enhances the authenticity of those instruments.
And it makes it so that when you're listening to this, you can almost just picture like kind of a band room setup.
Oh, absolutely.
Where you have the horns a little far back, and this whole thing's just being directed and performed right in front of you.
Yeah.
And I love that about it.
I bet this has a killer live show to go along.
Oh, I bet. Yeah. I bet. And I would love to see these guys sometime. But really, this is just consistent, strong songwriting, engaging. Ham, in your kind of little essay you wrote for us, you said that it will make you shed manly tears, and I love that line. And it didn't make me shed any tears, but I could totally see why it would, because these lyrics, and once again, we really love bands that put their lyrics on their website, and these guys did just one big long thing on their website. You can read all the lyrics and the themes of lost love, and even possibly what I interpreted to be guilt from leaving a past lover or whatever. The ways you can interpret this is just, there's a lot of depth to it, and I love that about it.
A lot of warmth. Yeah. It makes you appreciate how they albumized it.
And it actually matches up with the way the music is going, because I don't feel like this is a strict concept album, but one thing I really ragged on David Comes to Life, the new album by Fucked Up, one thing I really didn't like is that the music didn't seem to be meshing with the lyrics and the way the lyrics are moving along, and they really nail that on Hunger and Thirst. Typhoon does.
Yep. Tom, you nailed most of the points I want to say. To go on, it's just I really just appreciated the songwriting at this level. And one thing I did want to say is that each song takes a different aspect on the mood, and that plays in with the lyrics too. And that's something that seeing that wide variety, which can be a good or a bad thing, here I think mostly is a good thing, just because you get a wide variety. This album, it presents a lot of variety even without relying on electronics, using authentic instrumentation to accomplish it. The other thing I wanted to say is I love albums that are formatted as albums, but also have great openers and great closers. And this album's closer, "The Sickness Unto Death," I think is fantastic. Definitely the emotional point of this album, where it just comes to a climax and you're just like, wow. When this thing ends, it's almost breathtaking, or it is breathtaking, and that's something I really appreciated and loved. This is one that I found as I listened to it more and more, I liked it more and more. I definitely enjoy my growers, and this is definitely a grower album, so I'm giving this an 84.
I'm giving 82.
Okay, so those of you out there who have heard of Typhoon, what do you think about this album? Is this something that you're gonna want to see developed, or do you have suggestions for where this band should take their sound? Because if we're right, and this is a fairly new band out on the scene, I'd love to see where they go with this.
Yeah.
For those of you who haven't listened to it, this is definitely something you want to check out, especially if you're into that indie, kind of underground, like real instrumentation and full album sounds. This is something you'll want to see. So tell us what you think at www.velocitiesinmusic.com or youtube.com/velocitiesinmusic, Twitter, Facebook, do it. I'm Jake.
I'm Tom.
And we are VIMTV, moving music critique forward.
I was dying.